Hey friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I'm excited because I'm back hopping along with my crafty friends for the Oh So Inspired collaboration hop. I did miss last month, which was sad, but I'm back here again this month and I'm really excited to share with you our inspiration. This month, we are inspired by Heidi C. or Stampin' Heidi on Instagram. You could see her beautiful card here. I love the colors and the overall leafy fall vibe, so that's what I used as my inspiration this month. I'm so excited to see what everyone else makes, so make sure you head to my description box where you can find our playlist where it will have everyone's videos and you can just easily hop along by hitting play all. But let's jump into how I made my card today. Most of my products today are from Hello Bluebird. I have this happy fall sentiment that I die cut out of Fawn Speckled Eggshell cardstock. I also cut it out of some paper bag cardstock and some tropical shimmer cardstock in the pink color from that set. I also die cut all of the leaves from this kind of fall themed die set out of the same speckled eggshell cardstock, and I stamped and colored my little jumping squirrel and all of the leaves from this really adorable fall themed squirrel stamp set. All of these products, again from Hello Bluebird, were from a kit that is sold out, so I'm so sorry about that, but I did link them down below in my description in case you want to check out future kits from them. So I'm going to start with my background by creating what I think looks like a faux embossed look. So I die cut all of the leaves 2 to 3 times and I cut down a panel of the speckled eggshell cardstock to 4 by 5 1/4, and I arranged the leaves so that none of them overlapped and they were spread out pretty much evenly to create again what looks like an embossed look on that panel. I'm using a low tack sticky mat. This particular one is from scrapbook.com, and I picked up all of the leaves off of that panel and I flipped it over to add adhesive to all of the backside now of my leaf die cuts. So it took me a little time, but I got all of my adhesive on all of those leaves, and once they are all covered, I'll go ahead and pick up my paper and I'm going to line my paper right back onto that low tack mat to be able to adhere those leaf pieces to the panel. Now I'll flip it over so you can see all of the leaves are on my panel, but I'm not going to peel it off yet. I want to set it aside and give those leaves some time to dry, the glue on them, before I attempt to peel off that panel. So while that glue is drying, we're going to move on to layering our sentiment pieces. So I love this Happy Fall die set. I just think this font is super fun. And I die cut again 1 layer out of speckled eggshell cardstock, and that was just to create a base, give it some dimension. So then I am attaching my paper bag layer. Now the paper bag cardstock is actually a bit on the thicker side from Lawn Fawn, so between these 2 layers there's enough dimension there that I think it will really stand up off the card without having to use any foam adhesive. The middle A and L in fall die cut out separately, so I went ahead and glued those together as well. And then for my tropical shimmer cardstock, I'm going to actually create what looks a little bit like a drop shadow. So I'm going to add adhesive this time to the back of my pink cardstock, and then I will adhere it to the top of that paper bag or craft cardstock, and I'm shifting it to the upper left so I have a little bit of a drop shadow of that brown cardstock peeking out to the bottom right. So once those are adhered down, I'm applying pressure and trying to make sure that I like the amount of cardstock that's showing. That will finish off my sentiment, and while I do have the magic of editing, it did take me a little time. So now I can slowly peel off my low tack sticky mat, and there I have my leaves onto my panel. I really like this look. It creates a fun embossed look. Like I said, I do have plenty of embossing folders that I absolutely probably could have used instead of this, but if you don't have embossing folders and you want to use your dies in a different way, I hope this inspires you today to try out this technique. Now that the leaves are all dry, I'm using my scissors to trim off anywhere where those leaves go past the edge of my panel, and I'm going to do a dry run of how I think my card layout will look. So I want my sentiment on the top. I did keep the negative or extra piece of that happy fall die to help me with placing that middle A and L later on. I want my big pile of leaves on the bottom, and my squirrel will fit nicely between that pile of leaves and the sentiment. So I'm going to start with gluing my sentiment down. I'm just adding liquid adhesive to the backside of my first happy and the F and L of fall, so gluing that down. Here you can see I'm using that extra piece as a guide. I did put adhesive on the back of my A and L, and I'm just using it to roughly figure out the placement of the original die. Again, you don't really need to do that. I feel like I did a pretty good job just eyeballing it, but I wanted it to look like it was intended. Next, I'm going to get out my white gel pen and I'm going to add some highlights to my leaves. This takes me a little bit of time, so I won't show you all of the highlighting, but I do use the white gel pen just to add some fun cartoony highlights, some lines and dots, and I also use it to where I colored outside of the lines. I do that often, so I keep my trusty white gel pen there next to my coloring tools to make sure I can hide where I colored outside the lines. I'm using some thinner foam adhesive and I attached some foam squares behind my pile of leaves, and I'm using the grid on my glass board to help me get that as centered as possible. Next, I added foam adhesive behind my cute squirrel. I can't get over how stinking cute he is, especially his little cheeks. So I added him above the leaves and under my sentiment. Now I'm going to use my pickup tool and I'm just going to put the leaves randomly around the card. At first I was going to keep them all below the sentiment, but as I add them later, I'm going to add a few a little bit higher up. So I have quite a few leaves that I use just some liquid adhesive, and between my tweezers and my pickup tool, I added liquid adhesive and glued those down. For a few of them, mostly around my sentiment, I'm using some foam adhesive. So just trim down some little pieces of foam adhesive behind those leaves, and I'm adding them around the top of the card. So you can see it looks kind of like they're falling, or maybe they're flying into the air as my squirrel is jumping in its pile of leaves. I'm going to bring out an A2 panel of Guava cardstock from Fawn. I thought it matched the tropical shimmer as best as it could from my stash of cardstock. And I'm adding some foam adhesive to the back of this panel, and I'm going to attach it to the A2 card front. I really like how Heidi C's card has that border of color around her leaf panel, so I wanted to use that as inspiration for my card as well. I have my top folding A2 card base, just giving it a nice fold with my scoring tool from Trinity, one of my favorite tools in my craft room. And then I'm going to use my giant tape runner to add some adhesive to the back of this panel and attach it to my card base. I like to start in one of the corners of the folded part of the card, so just in case my card base is a little too big, I can trim it off very easily and not have to worry about it showing at the scored part of the card. For some final touches, I brought in some copper glitter pops of color from scrapbook.com and added them around the card just to give the same look of the falling leaves, but to add a little bit more shine, as I love a good shine on my cards. Here's a close-up look of how my Happy Fall card turned out. I hope it brought you some inspiration today and that you have so much fun hopping along with us. Let me know how you think I did with my take on her card for Heidi C's card in the comments, and again, have a lot of fun hopping. I can't wait to see what everyone makes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!